The beauty of the internet is that anyone can put up a video. The bad part about the internet is that anyone can put up a video. I'm not claiming to have any vast knowledge in any field, or subpar knowledge in any field either. But I do see a trend of people reviewing products and extolling the virtues of those products, and they've only owned the knife for 6 months. I mean, you haven't really even creased the leather after 6 months. I mean, unless you're doing something like the Amazon 5000, where I'd go, well, okay, you know, that thing was on your hip night and day, probably used quite extensively. But usually you can spot these videos, and, you know, it's the brand new looking knife that someone talks about how much you need, or it's the knife that just doesn't look old, just looks like someone didn't take care of it. Okay, and you can tell the difference of someone who has a knife that is used and well maintained, and someone who just has a knife and lets it rust and lets it get dirty, and, you know, so it just looks like a new knife that's dirty, right? You've seen all of that. But I see people who of course, there's the people with the brand new knife, like I said, but then there's the people with the knife, and we'll just say 5-6 month owners, who've tried to go out and do some things, but they don't really have extensive use or knowledge with that knife. Any knife that I put in front of you, I have at least several years of use and carrying, okay? Not just grabbing it from my house and feathering some sticks in the backyard. Actually carrying it, backpack on, going out. Because there's a honeymoon period with any tools. And you know, I've owned a knife and carried a knife for 1.5 years before deciding, well, I guess the pros, you know, are less and less, right? The cons are beginning to outweigh the pros, you know. But within the first 5 months, I could have told you how great that knife was, you know, that it was the best thing since sliced bread, basically. So there is a honeymoon period with any type of new tool, right? You talk to someone who's into, you know, cross-country motorcycling, you know, and those types of things. And here's a BMW motorcycle owner with, you know, 1 year. You know, he went from, you know, across the country and back. And while it is good experience, it might not be as good as the next guy who he's, you know, had that motorcycle for 4 years and he's been across the country 6 times. Or he's on his 2nd or 3rd motorcycle of that brand. And you know, so like I said, there is a difference, you know, with a lot of that, and you've got to be careful on who you're getting your knowledge from, because there's a lot of regurgitated information that happens to be false with any product, but you find it a lot in the woodcraft, bushcraft, and camping community, and especially the survival community. There's a lot of, forgive me if you will, there's a lot of virgins talking about sex out there, right? There's a lot of people talking about survival and their knife and how it pertains to survival. And they've never even been remotely put in that situation. And, you know, it's you can tell if certain things can be survival oriented, and you can, you know, give you know, a shallow review or perspective on that standpoint, but you can't really go deep into it. And it's the same with the knife type of thing. So excuse the rambling on of it, but it's been a thing on my mind for a few years, seeing people with, you know, just get a knife and take it out twice and do a great review with great video quality. And I'm sure they're great for that manufacturer who's trying to sell those knives, but for the buyer, might not be that good of a thing, right? They could be giving you information that's really false, or information that's just in regards to the honeymoon phase. You know, oh, it's a really great knife. It does this, it does that, it does this. I've owned it for 6 months. You know, so like I said, I try to give things that I have to you. If I'm going to talk about them, I have dirt time behind whatever it is. It could be a method of sharpening. It could be a pair of boots. It obviously is going to be a knife. But whatever it is, there's going to be dirt time behind it. If I give you a review of something that I've owned for a year or a year and a half, you better bet there's a lot of hours behind that. If I feel comfortable after a year and a half saying, you know what, I'm going to tell the world about this, I want a lot of dirt time behind that product. So thank you again for joining me, and I'll have many, many more videos that I hope you like as well. Take care.